The child stepped carefully into the spiral city again, this time with eyes open, senses sharpened by the lion's steady presence. The air was thick with the hum of stories, threads of light that wove through the alleys like restless. The city sang, not with music, but with murmurs and echoes. The walls themselves whispered fragments of lost dreams, snatches of forgotten songs, and half-remembered names. The child wandered past houses shaped like coiled shells, their doors carved with spirals that seemed to breathe. Windows flickered with images, memories replayed and folded back on themselves, like reflections in a cracked mirror. But not all was alive. Some streets were silent, gates of cold iron barred passage, locked tight by the clockmaker's will. Behind them, shadows paced in endless loops, time captives bound to rituals, their voices muted beneath ticking clocks. At the city's heart lay the market of threads, a tangled bazaar where meaning was traded like currency. Dream weavers bartered with memory. Story smiths forged new shapes from ancient patterns. The child felt drawn here, sensing a pulse beneath the vibrant chaos. A vendor approached, an old figure cloaked in shifting colors, whose eyes held the shimmer of 1,000 forgotten tales. They offered the child a spool of thread, silver and warm. "This is a thread unwound from the weaver's loom," the vendor whispered. "Hold it carefully, for it carries the power to weave new worlds." The child clutched the thread tightly and felt the city breathe beneath their feet. The spiral pathways began to shift, folding, unfolding, revealing hidden doors and forgotten corners. One led to a tower of mirrors, where the child glimpsed reflections of themselves not yet born, faces wrapped in light and shadow, names whispered like a prayer. The lion stepped forward, paw resting on the ground. Without words, it showed the child the choice the spiral city offered: to be lost in the endless turning, or to follow the thread beyond the spiral's end. The child closed their eyes, the silver thread coiling softly in their hand. The city's hum became a song, a promise and a warning. The spiral was not just a path, it was a question. The child sat beneath a flickering lantern in the heart of the spiral city, the silver thread coiled gently in their palm like a sleeping serpent. The city's murmurs faded into a distant hum, and inside the child, a new sound began to rise. Soft, insistent, like the first breath of dawn. It began as a loosening, a gentle unspooling of the self they thought they knew. Memories blurred at the edges. Names shifted and danced like leaves in a restless wind. They felt the lion's eyes upon them, steady, patient, waiting for the change to unfold. The child's breath deepened. They closed their eyes and saw the spiral again, not as a path laid before them, but as a coil turning within. A thread of light wove through their heart, stretching, twisting, pulling. It sang a song the child had never heard, but somehow remembered. The thread whispered names, not words, but shapes of sound and meaning, ancient and new, fragile and infinite. The child reached out with their mind and plucked one from the air. A name that felt like a dawn, like the first dream breaking open the sky. And as they spoke it aloud, a breath, a pulse, a promise. The city shifted around them. The spiral's walls glowed softly. The silver thread shimmered bright. The child was no longer just a child. They were becoming. The lion moved closer, nuzzling the child's hand. No words were needed. In that moment, the child understood. They carried the weaver's scattered memory. They held the thread that could bind or unravel the world. But with that power came choice. To follow the spiral deeper and deeper, or to find the break, the thread's end, the doorway beyond. The child opened their eyes. The spiral city awaited, and the dreaming had only just begun. The child woke to find the lion waiting at the edge of the market of threads. Its eyes shimmered with stars, deep pools of ancient light that seemed to hold both worlds, the unbroken past, and the shifting present. The lion moved with deliberate grace, its mane rippling like woven gold in shadow. It did not speak with words, but the child heard its voice. A thread of feeling, a song sung beneath silence. I am the keeper of what once was, and the guardian of what might be. In the beginning, long before the weavers scattered its loom, before the first thread pulled the world into dreaming, There was a time when all was raw and unshaped. From the edges of this formlessness, where memory and forgetting tangled like roots, rose a creature, born from the breath of the first question. It had eyes like slow suns, and a mane that shimmered with every thread of the loom. It was the first watcher, the silent witness. The lion's task was to guard the border, the fragile line between waking and dreaming, between knowing and forgetting. It held the memory of the weaver's scattered threads, carried their song in the depths of its being. It waited for the one who could hear the silent hymn, the child who held the silver thread, the thread that could weave the worlds anew. It understood. The lion and the child are two halves of a whole, the keeper and the seeker, the silence and the song. Together, they walk the spiral path, one watching, one weaving. The lion's gaze steadies the child's trembling heart, and the child's dreaming breath awakens the lion's ancient memory. The child reached out, fingers brushing the lion's mane. In that touch, a surge of warmth spread through both. A silent vow passed between them, to hold the fragile balance, to follow the thread wherever it leads.